Hi everybody, welcome to Infinite Knowledge Solutions. Today we'll be discussing the last chapter of the Economic Survey 2019-20, Thalinomics. Thalinomics is the formula behind the affordability of food in India considered across the time span of 2006-7 to 2019 and 20. Pitched by the chief economic advisor as the economics for common man, Thalinomics actually studies the affordability of food by all citizens of India across these years, residing in different states and having different food preferences. This dynamics of a thali has been one of its kind attempt by the economic survey to understand what is the cost and what are the affordability metrics that are being utilized to understand whether people can afford food in India and how is this purchasing power changing across years. So we'll just start off with understanding the aim of Thalinomics as a whole study. So this particular study wants to address questions on what a common man faces while they are buying a thali across years, and it's an attempt to quantify the price of a thali. The various questions like how has the inflation of a thali been? Is it more or less for vegetarian compared to non-vegetarian? Does it differ across states and regions? And which components, the rice, the cereals, the fuel used for cooking, the vegetables, which component of it actually contributes maximum to the price of it? Why this entire study is of magnanimous importance is because food and beverages combine around 45.9% in CPI combined, which means that any slight change in food price affordability, the constituents, the raw materials of food, will lead to a very sharp spike in CPI, and this will be translated very soon. Thalis happen to be the best way to communicate trends to the common man, and this entire exercise has been estimated for 25 states and union territories for the time frame considered. Just to give you a little bit about the methodology of how we arrived at the prices, state-wise calculations are based on recipes, components, and weights. So, depending on India's diversity and how the food preferences actually change from region to region, there is a state-wise difference in the prices of the food that they consume, the recipes that they use, and the weights of each components in the thali, which is consumed by a common man on a daily basis. An all India aggregate construct is made by actually taking the weighted average. In this weighted average, the weights are the populations of the different states. So while you may not see the fine intricacies of how it differs in an all India construct, but state wise, we can go to the minutest details of how affordability varies in the northern region, southern region, and etc. Constructing a thali. Now, this is a very detailed understanding of what the thali looks like in India. A few brief pointers on this is that the thali is based on the dietary guidelines which have been issued by the government in 2011. It is estimated according to the requirements of an adult male who's heavily into physical work. So this will be an overestimation for all the other population because obviously an adult male with physical work is the highest amount of calorific requirement that some human being might possess. And the construction is such that it covers two full meals with all nutrition requirements which are met. So it's a basically balanced diet with all nutritional requirements met. The Labor Bureau has actually helped in estimation of the average monthly prices. And what are these average monthly prices? So these average monthly prices are basically for two types of items, normal items and rationed items. For normal items, across various regions in various centers and selected markets, the prices have been collected and an average has been taken to estimate the price of a normal item. For a rationed commodity, it's again a weighted average. The weights are the quantities which are supplied through the public distribution system in India and the others which are in the open market. Now, as you can see here, we have actually laid down the entire intricacies of what are the various types of dal, what are the various vegetables, what are the various cereals, and their weights inside a vegetarian thali. We have also included what kind of oil is being used, and similarly for a non-vegetarian thali. These are basically keeping in mind the various regions, the various spices available, and the seasonality of vegetables, to ensure that the construct is very pan-India and it is not, relevant only to a limited region. What were the key observations of this entire study? The first key observation was that the absolute price of a vegetarian thali fell since 2015 and 16. So just to give you a brief background, before 2015 and 16, the prices were actually rising. But the rise actually slowed down after 2015 and 16. And again, after these 3 years of a decline in the prices, it has again kind of risen in 2019. The reason why it fell in 2015 and 16 was because of a decline in the price of vegetables and dal. Now we will go ahead and kind of examine what were the reasons of the decline in prices of vegetable and dal. Why did they become more affordable? But the trend is such that till 2015 and 16 it had been rising, post which it briefly fell and it again rose in 2019. All in all, in order to quantify it, the average vegetarian household gained around 10,887 per year on average from moderation in prices. So what this basically says is that had there been no moderation, they would have paid 10,887 more. So the savings because of this price fall has been 10,000 on an average for the vegetarian household, a affordability rise of 29%. Similarly, for a non-vegetarian household, the gain has been around 11,000 rupees. So then affordability rise by 18%. These are the key results of this entire study that the economic survey undertook. Okay, so as you may see in this diagram, the key result is indicated in a diagrammatic format. The blue dashed line here indicates the linear trend. So if you can see, it has been continuously rising until 2015 and 16. And if we were to continue the same projections after that, it was expected to rise in this fashion. However, this black line here is the real trend, which clearly shows that the prices kind of took a dip after this red barrier of 2015 and 16, both for vegetarian and non-vegetarian. It grew, but it did not grow in that fashion with that kind of intensity, which means there was a moderation in the prices post 2015-16. This is the same quantification of this diagram, which clearly says that there was a gain in rupees format, 10,000 approximately till 2017 and 18 for a vegetarian family, and 8,000 for a non-vegetarian family, which means that there, because the prices didn't rise as much as expected, and because there was this slight moderation, people seem to have gained. Moving on, we just mentioned that this fall had been due to the moderation in the prices of vegetables and dal. And now we are going to understand what is it that the government did such that price rise started slowing down. So what happened in this 2015-16 barrier that things started to look slightly better and affordability increased? So here are a list of 6 schemes that we have. The first is PM Asha. The Asha stands for Annadata Aay Sanrakshan Abhiyan, which means that it's a price support scheme. Aay is income, so basically an income support in the form of payment deficiency scheme, procurement and stockist schemes. All of these schemes are basically telling the farmer that you are assured the minimum support prices, and any difference, so if you are not able to sell your produce at the MSP, we will procure it from you, and if we cannot procure it, what we'll do is we'll directly deposit the amount of difference between your selling price and the MSP. Say MSP for a crop is 50 per kg and you have only the best price available to you is 40. The 10 rupees gap per kg will be deposited to you, so your Aay Sanrakshan, your income is guaranteed. The Kisan Sinchai Yojana is more of a water conservation scheme wherein recharge of aquifers and precision irrigation have been constantly stressed upon. Water use in a more efficient format, and making water available for all cultivable land has been the main focus of this yojana. The Fasal Bima Yojana, which talks about insurance coverage for agricultural crops, has benefited 69 lakh farmers approximately. The Soil Health Card, which talks about equipping farmers with more information on the nutrition status of soil and the appropriate dosage of fertilizers and pesticides which are required to keep the soil healthy and to kind of increase the acreage for any kind of cultivable land. ENAM is National Agricultural Markets, an online platform. The APMCs and the mandis to be combined into an online platform such that there is regulation and standardization across the prices that farmers receive for their produce. And lastly, you have the Food Security Mission and the Food Security Act, which aims to provide grains at a subsidized rate to people who are in need, and it has been implemented in 36 states and union territories. So this all in all gives you a picture that with the Asha scheme, with the Krishi Sinchai Yojana, with the Fasal Bima Yojana, the government has been taking huge leaps and bounds in the right direction to ensure that farmers are guaranteed an income. They are not people who have to sell their produce at dismally low prices, and as a result of which rural demand all in all should be protected. Moving on, we are going to now talk about regional variations. As you may see, we have enlisted out the various regions and what are the states covered. And here is a diagrammatic representation of the price moderation for vegetarians as well as non-vegetarians across these years. The one important observation here is the highest gain has happened in the southern region for the vegetarian thali. So 12% of annual earnings of a worker are only supposed to be going and purchasing food for a vegetarian worker in the southern region. That is the highest gain observed overall. We'll move on. Understanding the affordability. So this is one of the most important parts where we understood that you cannot just keep on tracking the prices of a thali and saying that, either farmers are better off or worse off. What you need to do is to analyze earnings as well. So prices compared to earnings. This will give you a true metric of whether the farmer is really better off and whether the welfare has actually increased or it has rather declined. So the metric used here was actually the proportion of daily wages needed to procure 2 thalis per day for household members. What it means is basically that out of your daily wages, whatever is the X amount, how much of that is being spent in procuring 2 thalis for a household of 5 members. So the economic survey has assumed that on an average, the household has 5 members. If this metric declines, it means that the person is better off. So now he's spending a lower percentage of his daily wages in procurement of food. As a result, he is better off. And just to give you from where we procured this data, ASI, the Annual Survey of Industries, gave data on wages. The total wages data was available, which has been used by this formula to convert it into the daily wage of a worker. Now, as you can see that in 2004-5, for a vegetarian thali, 90% of daily wages, which is now significantly reduced to 50% of daily wages. And similarly, for a non-vegetarian, earlier they would spend around 93% of their daily wages, which has now fallen down to 79% of the daily wages. So all in all, the metric has gone down significantly for vegetarians as well as for non-vegetarians, implying that people are better off. And when we look at regional variations, Jharkhand has emerged to be the place where the thali was the most affordable. We'll move on. Now we are going to go inside to see the various components of thali. As you can see in this particular diagram here, we have considered cereal, sabzi, dal, non-vegetarian items as well as fuel. And the key observations that emerged were that dal remains slightly elevated till 2015-16 and then declined, and sabzi has been slightly higher than all the others. So basically till 15-16 the rise had been led by dal, but now dal has declined, and so is the case with sabzi. And when you talk about inflation, that is year on year change, you would see that the increase in the price of vegetarian and non-vegetarian thalis in 2019-20 is actually dubbed to be a very temporary phenomenon. It is widely said that this is going to revert back, and this may be just a year-on-year fluctuation, which is just a matter of fact, and it is not having any permanent repercussions. At the same time, for a vegetarian thali, as you may see, post 2015-16, this point here, it almost fell to an all-time low of below zero. So there was absolutely no inflation. And it has also reached very low levels here, close to 2018-19 for a non-vegetarian thali. We'll just move on and talk about the variability in thali prices. Now here the variability is considered across months. So maybe, some months of the year vegetables are easily available, some months they are not. And variability across regions depending on, what crop is produced in what region. And the key observation that emerged was that there were no specific trends in variability, neither across regions or states or components. So the variability was extremely low. Moving on to concluding arguments, zero hunger is a sustainable development goal, and the problem of this zero hunger attainment in India has been that usually agricultural supply shocks happen because of monsoon. India depends so much on external irrigation. The problem of food prices has been analyzed through the lens of a thali, because that is exactly what a person pays on a day-to-day basis. And as you know, that the assumption here has been two thalis per day for a household of 5 members. Moderation in the prices of vegetarian thali have been witnessed since 2015-16, and they have slightly increased this year, but as I already mentioned, it is deemed to be a very temporary phenomenon. Affordability of thalis vis-a-vis the daily wages of a worker has also improved, which indicates a higher status of welfare. So, like I said, that the welfare metric is comparing the price with the income, and overall, the economic survey seems to conclude that yes, the welfare has improved for the common man in India since 2005 and 6 to ongoing 2019 and 20. Thank you.